Right now on 7 News at 9, the plan to repeal and replace getting new life.
The health care bill passing the House.
This is a real plan. This is a great plan.
Republicans rally with the president after their big win. Now on to the next health care hurdle. It's in the hands of the Senate.
A few dry days now, the rain is back, and this time it's really pouring on.
On just one station,
I just hear the engine roaring. Last second, pulls me away.
a witness saving his son's life with a split-second decision. And what's next for the driver in that deadly car auction crash?
Plus, police make a dangerous discovery when a middle school student is arrested for making troubling threats.
Take a look at this. A pickup swerves into traffic, nearly wiping out a school bus full of students.
Also, he thought he was walking away a winner.
That was my dream.
Instead, his prize got stuck, but it wasn't game over. He turned to solve at 7.
And this is how you treat a hero, a World War II vet robbed.
Tonight, he's getting the red carpet treatment. It's all now from the night team.
7 News at 9 starts now.
And first here at 9, the weekend is getting off to a super soaker start. All that rain you see headed our way. The spring storm rolling in tomorrow.
So the big question is tonight, when does it start and when will all that rain finally get out of here? Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Reiner's tracking all that for us. Here's your latest forecast.
Ryan, we do have clouds across New England at this time. No rain from those clouds, but yes, this will be a storm that tomorrow night at this time producing showers and downpours. Temps right now with clouds moving in, low 50s. So the clouds will prevent us from being as chilly as we were last night. Temps overnight tonight 41 to 47. The morning commute, you'll have clouds, but no rain tomorrow morning. Perhaps a couple of sprinkles at 9 a.m. You notice temps tomorrow morning 45 to 48. The storm system, it's well to the south, and even though there's rain right now as close as New York State, that's moving north. It's not heading into New England. Our rain is still way down here, and it's a slow-moving storm, so that buys us a little more time overnight tonight and tomorrow morning. But here's your timeline as we put it into motion. Noon tomorrow, even at that time, just a few sprinkles and spot showers. I think the main event is tomorrow afternoon, about 4 or 5 o'clock, certainly through tomorrow evening's commute. So plan on rain tomorrow evening, and there could be some downpours, perhaps even a rumble of thunder with the weather system, the storm, moving across New England tomorrow night and early Saturday morning. At that time, most towns between 1 and 2 inches of rain, and we're not done with this storm yet. It's going to hang around for a couple of days. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
Well, as the rain rolls through, you can track the storm in your neighborhood. Check out our interactive radar on WHDH.com or download our mobile and tablet apps.
And disturbing new details in the death of Aaron Hernandez. Tonight, we're getting a closer look at the chilling final moments before the convicted killer hung himself. And for the first time, we're seeing Hernandez's blood-stained Bible that guards found when they opened his cell. The 19's Amako Baca has been pouring through the reports and joins us now with more.
Well, Jadian, State Police and the Department of Corrections released separate reports today which describe in detail how Aaron Hernandez was found in his cell by correctional officers in the early morning hours of April 19th. New details outlined in a report from State Police detailing what happened in the hours before and right after the death of Aaron Hernandez. According to the report, he was found hanged naked from a bed sheet tied around the window bars in his cell at the Souza Baranowski Correctional Center. A correctional officer discovered the door was pegged. Cardboard had been shoved into the door tracks to prevent the door from opening. State Police also say Hernandez put shampoo on the floor, making it very slippery for guards to get to him. And for the first time, we're getting a look at Hernandez's Bible, found open to verse John 3:16 in his cell. You can see a blood stain marking the passage. It was also written on his forehead in ink and on the walls. The report saying on the wall in the cell were several drawings in John 3:16 written in a substance consistent with blood. The Department of Corrections also releasing pictures of all of Hernandez's tattoos, more than a dozen of them. He got this neck tattoo of a star that says lifetime loyalty while in prison. During his time at the correctional facility, Hernandez was disciplined for 13 separate incidents, including that neck tattoo, having a shank, and for having another inmate locked inside his cell with him. State police also say they reviewed surveillance footage and phone logs the day before Hernandez's body was found, including the last call he had at 8 p.m. on April 18th. Officials summarize in the report, Hernandez does not make any apparent indication of an intent to harm himself during any of the phone calls. While state police say he had some physical injuries, including a fresh cut on his finger and a large blood mark on both feet, there is no evidence of a struggle or drugs in his system.
Over 20 years.
So did you meet in grammar school?
And Hernandez's legal team just released a statement tonight saying, in part, quote, any official who attempts to interfere or inhibit our investigation by refusing to allow access to the evidence surrounding this matter will not be tolerated. We will use any and all of the legal tools at our disposal to expose and prevent such interference. And officials say during his last phone call the night before taking his life, he discussed an upcoming visit with someone. That name has been redacted from the report. In the newsroom, Amaka Ubaka, 7 News 19.
Tonight at 9.
The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
The president pulling out a win.
Wasn't it unbelievable? So we don't have to say it again.
Now, the health care bill has a pulse. After a Republican revival.
The American Health Care Act barely passing the House by just one vote. Up next, it goes before the Senate. But today, immediately after that vote, Republicans were bussed to the White House for a Capitol celebration with the president, who congratulated them on the big win. But Democrats say they got the last laugh. Democrats with a snarky send-off moments after the health care bill passed the House, suggesting Republicans will lose their seats when it's time for re-election. The Night Team is live with all the action from our nation's capital. Here's Dan Housley, live in Washington, D.C.
Well, the Democrats may be singing na na na, hey, 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 goodbye, but President Trump tonight saying hello to New York and hello to the next challenge in the Senate. President Trump dressed in a tuxedo and back in New York for the first time as president, just hours after celebrating his biggest legislative win so far.
This is a real plan. This is a great plan.
President Trump at the White House Rose Garden, bringing in House Republicans to celebrate their vote, approving the plan to repeal and replace Obamacare, a signature campaign promise of the president and so many Republicans.
One thing is now clear. Republicans are committed to keeping our promise to lift the burden of Obamacare from the American people and put in place a better, more patient-centered system.
The president expressing confidence the winning won't stop here.
We don't have to talk about this unbelievable victory. Wasn't it unbelievable? So we don't have to say it again. But it's going to be an unbelievable victory, actually, when we get it through the Senate, and there's so much spirit there.
A major victory for House Republicans 7 years in the making. After a whirlwind 11th-hour push, the House on Thursday passing their Obamacare replacement plan, the American Health Care Act. Massachusetts Democrats among those making an 11th-hour push back.
How can you do this? How can you do this to the American people? How can you do this to your constituents? This is a terrible, terrible bill. You should vote no on it, or better yet, pull it. The ayes are 217, the nays are 213. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
But in the end, the Republicans were able to pass the plan with just one more than the 216 votes needed. The key change, adding money to a fund to help cover those with pre-existing conditions in states that opt out of that coverage. Democrats say the numbers just don't add up.
They didn't do anything, meaningful that would lower the costs of health care for average families, and that's a problem.
The House has just passed the plan to repeal and replace Obamacare a few minutes ago. Many are coming down this step here, and when they do, they're greeted by those protesters chanting shame and 2018. We'll never be divided. Bay State Democrat Joe Kennedy telling me he shares the protesters' disappointment.
Tough day when you're having to tell a victim of sexual assault that rape can be a pre-existing condition and you might not get health care anymore. Tough day when you're trying to tell somebody that's struggling from getting the care that they need from opioid addiction that they might not be able to get it. So tough day all around.
The bill's next stop, the Senate, where it's certain to face steep challenges.
I'm going to fight it with everything I have.
And changes that could tee it up for another health care battle back in the House.
We will look at it, Peter, when it comes back, but we got to see what comes back right now. What we know is this is pretty darn good. Doesn't fully get there, but it was good enough and a big step, and I think the best bill we can get out of the House right now, so let's see what happens going forward.
And the president also going back to another strategy to get things done in Washington, his executive orders. He's doing it again. And this time it was an attempt to change the landscape financially and politically for religious groups in this country.
Today, my administration is leading by example as we take historic steps to protect religious liberty in the United States of America.
President Trump signed an executive order today to vigorously promote religious liberty. The order allows churches and other religious organizations to be more active politically, but it stops short of offering broad exceptions for groups to deny services based on religious grounds.
We will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore. And we will never, ever stand for religious discrimination. Never, ever.
The president signed the executive order during a White House event marking the National Day of Prayer. But critics are concerned the order could make it easier to inject politics into places of worship. President Trump's executive order would limit IRS action over church political activity and further weaken enforcement of an IRS rule that bars churches and tax-exempt groups from endorsing political candidates.
As we look at the violence around the world, and believe me, it's violent. I get to see it perhaps better than anybody. We realize how truly blessed we are to live in a nation that honors the freedom of worship.
And there's a religious theme to the announcement of the president's first foreign trip coming up at the end of the month. We've now learned the president will travel to the Vatican, to Israel, and to Saudi Arabia, where the White House says he will reach out to Muslims for help in the war on terrorism. We're live in Washington. Dan Housley, 7 News 19.
Dan, thank you. Coming up here on 7 News at 9, the GOP pulling out a big win. So what do other local lawmakers think? The night team's Sharman Sacchetti talked with Massachusetts leaders who are weighing in. That's coming up right here on the news station. The health care bill battle is now headed to the Senate, and 7's Dan Housley has all the action from our nation's capital. Watch for his breaking live reports right here on the news station.
Now, from the night team, shock.
Thank God he was there.
After tragedy.
We started doing the best we could with what we had.
Tonight, picking up the pieces from a deadly car auction crash.
An emotional night at the scene of that deadly crash.
Yeah, the boyfriend of one of the victims sharing his heartbreaking story about how he was ready to propose. The 19's Alex DePrado live for us in Billerica with more. Alex.
Johnny, on the family of one of the women killed said they had to come back here to the scene tonight. Meanwhile, the auto auction here in Billerica is promising to make changes. 36-year-old Lizandra Aponte's boyfriend planned to ask for her hand in marriage. He kept the secret to himself.
Nobody know, only I know. And now that's gone.
But the dreams of a life together were shattered on Wednesday when Aponte was hit and killed by the driver of an out-of-control Jeep.
She was the best thing that I ever had in my life. She made me the better man. I lost my soulmate. Right now I'm empty without her.
Aponte leaves behind 3 children. In their grief, the family came to the Linway Auto Auction where Aponte was on her first day of work to lay flowers.
I still cannot believe this happened to us.
The 2 others who lost their lives have been identified as a 48-year-old woman and 49-year-old man from Rhode Island. The auction tragedy happened when an employee, a man in his 70s, was driving the Jeep Grand Cherokee past people as they made bids. The employee suddenly accelerated and swerved into the crowd.
There were people inside and outside, some were severely injured. We knew there were at least 2 there was unfortunately nothing we were going to be able to do for them.
The Linway Auto Auction says they'll make changes and install barriers to keep the drivers of vehicles from veering out of their lanes. Meanwhile, the Jeep is being combed over by state police as detectives try to figure out what went wrong. 7 News has learned the driver at the center of all this has had his license revoked after this accident. Investigators believe what happened here was just an accident. We're live in Billerica tonight. I'm Alex DePrado, 7 News 19.
I go, Dad, this guy's flying, and last second I froze. My dad just pulls me away from me. Thank God he was there.
That witness says a split-second decision is exactly what saved his life when a driver starts speeding up inside the auction house, killing 3 people. Now he has his father to thank after this close call. The 19's Kimberly Bookman has the interview you'll see on Just One station.
For a second, I grabbed him like this.
Proof that father really knows best. Abe Saraf pulled his 21-year-old son off the path of an out-of-control Jeep just as it was about to hit him.
I have to do something to save him.
I just hear the engine roaring. Last second, pulls me away. The mirror clipped my shoulder.
The pair remember standing side by side at the Billerica Auto Auction Wednesday morning looking to buy SUVs. They say out of nowhere, this Jeep came barreling towards them.
I go, Dad, this guy's flying. And last second, I froze. My dad just pulls me away from me. Thank God he was there.
Khalil Saraf says if it wasn't for his dad's quick actions, he wouldn't be alive today.
Definitely saved my life.
Having just escaped harm, Khalil didn't pause or take a breath. Instead, he says he rushed right back in towards the danger.
I ran over to the driver to see what happened, and then I just saw him froze. He looked like an innocent guy, so I shut off the car.
Khalil says he wanted to know what happened, why.
I was trying to talk to him and everything, but no response from him. He was completely in shock.
One day later, Khalil and his father are still pretty stunned themselves, watching life flash before their eyes.
Thanks God he's okay. We have to pray for the other people to feeling good, and sorry for the other people lost.
It's shaken up pretty bad. First thing, seeing something like that. It's kind of crazy.
And Khalil says he's pretty lucky. He has no pain, no bumps or bruises. He says his father and him are thinking and praying for the victims' families and the survivors. In Billerica, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News 19.
And as this story continues to develop, we'll bring you the very latest right here on 7 News on our website, WHDH.com, or on our mobile and tablet apps.
Also from the night team, police say they've caught the woman behind the wheel of a deadly drive in Milford. They say she kept going after running over a little boy on Easter Sunday. The night team's Tim Caputo is live in Milford with more.
Yeah, Ryan, police here say they actually interviewed that woman a few days after this deadly hit and run, but they had to wait several weeks for some DNA evidence to come back from the lab. And today she was arrested while at work.
2.5 weeks after a young boy was killed in a deadly hit and run, finally there's an arrest.
The moment that I found out that they had caught someone, I cried.
Neighbors relieved police tracked down the driver, but 54-year-old Melissa Knight didn't make it easy. Milford police say Knight was behind the wheel Easter Sunday afternoon when her SUV hit and killed 4-year-old Jonathan Loha, who ended up in the street while running after a yo-yo he got for Easter. Police say Knight initially stopped, but then took off.
That makes me angry, oh so angry, that she would go to such lengths to protect herself.
She was interviewed a few days later and allegedly told police the damage on her car was from hitting a tree branch months earlier.
Detectives spoke to her briefly. They looked at the vehicle and seeing damage consistent with that type of an accident, we seized the vehicle.
Police say she tried to cover up the crime as well.
She indicated that she had not washed the vehicle in more than a week. Hers was the only spotless vehicle in the parking lot.
But police say they still found the boy's DNA on the car. The next-door neighbor says the family is still very upset, but at least with this arrest, there's a bit of closure.
This family has been broken. They had a piece of them ripped out of their lives, and you don't recover from that.
In addition to being charged with leaving the scene of a deadly accident, Knight is also charged with misleading a police investigation. Tonight, she's staying at the police station being held on $100,000 bail. She'll be in court tomorrow. We're live tonight in Milford. Tim Caputo, 7 News 19.
And new at 9 o'clock, police say a driver smashed up at least 2 cars, knocking down a telephone pole and coming to a sudden stop into a house. The aftermath of this crash course, total mess. Much of the scene behind police tape tonight. The night team's Justin Bork live for us in Everett with more information. Justin?
Well, police were kind enough to let us into the blocked off area here where a towing company just finished moving a van that was hit by this SUV. But if you see right over there, the SUV itself right where it rammed into this home, judging by that rear damage and what witnesses told me, it sounds like it backed into a pole and a house on my side of the street, then went into the basement area of that home. Fortunately, I'm told there aren't a lot of injuries, but a lot of cleanup after what was a very messy situation.
Emergency crews sort through the debris of a downed telephone pole in Everett. The live wire was knocked down when an SUV careened through several parked cars and at least one home.
I don't know what happened, you know.
Julio Pinata says his brother Jose was behind the wheel. He says Jose's wife and kids were inside the house during the accident.
Yeah, I'm okay. The wife and kids, it's okay. Yeah.
Everett police say the driver was taken into custody but wouldn't confirm his identity nor the cause of the accident. Fire and utility crews had to leave several people without heat and electricity as they cut power to the downed lines. There's no word on the extent of the damage to the home, but residents there say nobody inside was hurt.
Now, Everett police tell me they're still investigating this whole situation. We're unsure if this driver is going to face any charges. Now, as for the people inside that home, we know the power has been cut out. They don't have any heat or electricity, so fire has advised them to stay in a hotel or wherever they can find tonight. They're hoping to be able to go back home tomorrow, but again, fortunately, there were no serious injuries. This is Justin Bork reporting live in Everett, 7 News Night Team.
Investigators discovering explosives at a team's home after he was arrested for making troubling threats aimed at his middle school. The night team's Eric Kane is live in Wilmington with more.
Ryan, the DA says the explosive device was found at the boy's home, but police did come here to the school as a precaution to see if there was anything here, but they did not find any devices. Wilmington Middle School parents breathing a sigh of relief that students are safe.
Glad they found it before anything happened.
After learning police arrested a student for having an explosive device at home.
Thankfully, the police were involved, and it sounds like, you know, it could have turned out a lot worse than it did.
The Middlesex District Attorney says the investigation began Wednesday when a student reported receiving threatening messages on social media.
You know, now with the internet, you know, it's a very scary place to bring up a child.
Police went to the home of the 13-year-old boy allegedly sending the threats, and that's where police say they found the explosive device along with gunpowder.
It's scary. It's very scary to know that, you know, it can happen anywhere. School, no matter how the age of the child, it's in our society nowadays.
As a precaution, police came to the school Thursday to search for any explosives.
They were just like looking around the school. Yeah, it was a little scary.
Seen police?
Yeah.
No explosives were found at the school, and the administration notified parents who are glad school officials acted fast.
I feel like they really got the police involved quickly. You know, my thought went out to both students because they both obviously need some, you know, some counseling and some help, you know, with a traumatic situation like this.
And the DA has also charged the boy with having a counterfeit note, but it's unclear what was in that note that they described. The DA also is not releasing the name of the boy because he is a minor. Live in Wilmington, Eric Kane, 7 News Night Team.
And there's more news tonight. Prince Philip stepping down from his royal duties. The 95-year-old monarch is planning to scale down on his public appearances. After being by the Queen's side during her 65-year reign, Prince Philip will retire this fall. People are praising his leadership, thanking him for his years of service.
For the Commonwealth and for the country, they are a great example of togetherness and doing the right thing. So yes, I thank them.
And the Queen and Prince Philip will celebrate 70 years of marriage come this November.
Coming up here on 7 News at 9, a wild wreck caught on camera.
2 cars on a crash course barreling down the highway, just missing a school bus with children on board.
Also, a case of road rage turning down and dirty when a woman here uses a vacuum as a weapon.
Then helping a hero, community coming together for a local World War II vet who was ripped off.
Rain into New England during the day tomorrow. Weekend forecast also features some rain. Details in a few minutes.
Coming up, her son won an expensive video game but couldn't collect.
Impossible to get out of the prize hole.
And no one involved would help her get the game.
I wanted him to get what he deserved.
See how we solved her prize predicament. That's just minutes away.
All right, take a look at this. A wild wreck unfolding right in front of a school bus. You can see the pickup truck swerve right into oncoming traffic. They're smashing into a car, then flipping over, nearly slamming right into that bus there. At the end, the pickup just tapping the front end of that bus. Dashcam video rolling the entire time that scene was unfolding.
Unbelievable. And students on board were only shaken up after that close call. Just before evening rush hour, this school bus in Oklahoma carrying 19 students is traveling north. As the bus passes a high school, this happens.
Sit down, you guys.
In this dashcam video taken on board the bus, we can see the black vehicle heading south veer into northbound traffic, striking the vehicle in front of the bus head on, flipping over multiple times before crashing into the school bus. Good Samaritans quickly pull over, jumping into action to help save those trapped in the two vehicles. We hear the driver of the bus then call authorities.
There's a bad accident. The car slid into us. We are involved, but not our fault. Everybody's okay. The trucks rolled and slid into us. There are two vehicles. The truck is upside down in front of us. Santa Fe and Memorial, headed north. It is very bad, very bad.
3 people had to be treated for injuries, but all 19 students on board were fine. The driver of the bus is now being praised for her swift and calm actions and defensive driving.
Somebody get a piece of paper, one person, everybody sit in a seat you belong in. One person get a piece of paper. Get a piece of paper and write down what seat number you're in and the name.
Oklahoma police have just released the official accident report. No word if any charges, though, have been filed.
Still ahead here at 9, a road rage incident gets out of control, and one woman really cleaning up with her weapon of choice.
Rain heading this way for tomorrow afternoon as well as tomorrow night. It will linger into parts of the weekend. Details after the break.
And then dinner with a hero, a local restaurant going above and beyond to give a World War II vet a night he won't forget after he was robbed.
And a real game changer for a young boy. He thought he won his dream prize, but walked away empty-handed, so he reached out to solve it himself.
Also, don't forget we're on the air half an hour earlier in the mornings. You can get your news, weather, and traffic starting at 4:30 a.m. Monday through Friday right here on the news station.
Friday, the Ice Bucket Challenge gave everyone a chance to join the fight against ALS. And now a lab in Cambridge believes they will find a way to win that fight.
We've tested more potential treatments than anywhere else. We're not backing down.
Johnny and Thompson discovers how their groundbreaking research is bringing us closer to a cure. Friday at 9, 10, and 11.